Today, we're going to learn how to dramatically improve the quality of our audio for only 160 bucks. So there's two key components to this audio recording setup. It's the Zoom H1 handy recorder and the Rode VideoMicro Shotgun microphone. The Zoom H1 comes in at about $80 on Amazon, and the Rode VideoMicro is actually only 55 bucks. You're also going to want to pick up a microphone stand, and that'll run you about 20 bucks on Amazon from Amazon Basics. Now, this is quite a budget setup, and in general, you want to spend a reasonable amount of money when it comes to audio, when you're making YouTube videos or you're making films. But if you still can't afford this, I found this audio adapter on Amazon for about 10 bucks, which will allow you to connect to this microphone to your smartphone and record directly into that. So that's going to end up saving you about $80 because you won't have to pick up the Zoom H1. You're also going to want to pick up a cable extension for a 3.5mm jack. The one that comes with the Rode VideoMicro is only about 2 inches long, and you're not going to get much slack with that. Now, if you're running with an iPhone 7 or higher, you're going to have to get a lightning cable to 3.5mm input. I'm pretty sure most of them come with that to begin with, but if you don't have one, you can pick one up. I'm going to link everything that I talk about in the description below so you can get that directly on Amazon. In addition to the lightning cable, you're also going to have to pick up the smartphone cable adapter and a 3.5mm extension cable. So in general, when recording audio, the most important thing is proximity and microphone placement, other than the microphone that you're using, of course. Now, if you don't feel like sticking around to learn about all the science behind why we place the microphone, where we're placing it, and how it all works together, you can go to this timestamp right here, and that should take you to where we're setting up the microphone, and you can just learn it right now and just get started as soon as possible. Essentially, when you're recording audio, microphones like to be nice and close to whatever subject they're recording. Think about when you're taking a phone call. When you put the phone up to your face, it's practically right next to your mouth, and they can hear you pretty clearly. But as soon as you take the microphone away, it starts getting more faint and more faint and more faint, and eventually, the person on the other line can't even hear you. So actually, every microphone works this way. The closer it is to your mouth or the subject that you're recording, the better the signal is going to be, the cleaner the sound is going to be, and the better the audio is going to be. Now, this is even true for cheap microphones, so if you have an inexpensive microphone that you're using and you're not getting the greatest sound quality out of it, you might want to consider maybe moving it closer to you. Maybe it's too far away. You want to bring it closer to you so that you get a better signal. Now, this isn't going to turn a $20 microphone into a $500 microphone overnight. However, it's going to sound a lot better if the microphone is a foot away from you rather than 30 feet away from you across the room. Now, different microphones work in different ways, and the one that we're going to be using is called a shotgun microphone, and it's a type of directional microphone. Directional meaning it's going to pick up the most sound depending on what you're pointing it at. Now, some mics are called omnidirectional mics, and these are usually the ones that you see clipped to your shirt or clipped to somebody else's shirt, often referred to as lapel mics or lav mics. They tend to pick up sound from every direction, which is why you clip it right here, you can clip it up here, you can clip it up here, and it's going to pick up your voice no matter where it's clipped. There's also microphones called condenser microphones, and that's usually what you'll see in a studio. Now, most shotgun microphones are also condenser microphones, but they work in a different way because they have a different pickup pattern, which means that they capture sound in a different way and give you a different sound overall. So all of these different microphones require different proximity and different microphone placement depending on what kind of sound they're made for. And by the way, all the different rules and techniques that we're going to be talking about will also apply to any other shotgun microphone that you buy. Now, most studio condenser microphones are going to be close to their subject. That's the kind of sound that you hear when you listen to the radio or a podcast. It sounds very close and it sounds very rich and bassy. Now, we're using a shotgun microphone, which is mainly used for recording dialogue. This microphone likes to be about 8 to 12 inches away depending on where you are, depending on what kind of sound you're looking for. But 8 to 12 inches is a good general rule of thumb when recording dialogue. And also make sure that your microphone is pointing directly at your subject's mouth. The mic stand we bought has a 5/8 thread, 5/8. The mic stand we bought has a 5/8 thread that is adapted to a 3/8 thread. Oh my god. It's adapted to this smaller thing. And what we want to do is we want to unscrew the 5/8 and we want to expose the 3/8. This is because our microphone is made for a 3/8. So set your mic stand up, put your microphone on it, and plug it into the Zoom H1 recorder. Now, I'm currently using the Rode NTG1 shotgun microphone, so I'm going to switch over to the Rode VideoMicro, going into the Zoom H1, and show you how it sounds. So now you're hearing the Rode VideoMicro going into the Zoom H1 recorder, and as you can probably tell, it sounds different than the NTG1, but it still sounds really great, honestly. This is really a great way to get good sounding audio on a budget, so I highly recommend this setup. Now, if you're recording into your phone, it's probably using auto levels, which means that it's balancing the volume automatically instead of you doing it manually. But if you're recording into a Zoom H1, you're going to want to go and record your audio manually. You're going to use the buttons on the side of the recorder to dial in your audio levels. You're going to either go up or down depending on if it's too loud or too quiet. Mine is sitting somewhere around 51, maybe to 60, somewhere around there. So what you want to do is you want to make sure your levels are peaking at about -12 to -6 decibels. And what peaking means is that's kind of like the highest that you want your levels to go to ensure that your audio doesn't get distorted. I'm sure you've heard audio that's been distorted. It kind of sounds like this, and it sounds kind of disgusting and gross, and you don't want to listen to it, and it's awful. To make sure that doesn't happen, we're going to set our audio levels to about -12 to -6 decibels. And what that means is we're going to talk about as loud as we think we're going to get, not screaming, but as loud as we think we're going to get. And we're going to make sure that that dials in to about -6, maybe -12, somewhere around there. When your levels get to 0, that means you're peaking. That means you're going above the threshold of what your audio recorder is capable of capturing, and that's why you get that muffled sound. You also want to make sure that you're recording in the WAV format. You can do this on the bottom of the recorder, and it has two options, WAV or MP3. Now, you're probably more familiar with MP3, but when we record audio, we want the most information we can possibly get, which means that we want the WAV format, which is basically uncompressed audio. This is going to maximize the amount of information that we have recorded, and that's going to give us a lot more leeway when editing. I would recommend not recording MP3 files at all unless you're really tight on memory space and you're recording for a really long period of time. Now that your audio is recorded, you're actually not done, which might piss some people off because you just went through this whole long process of getting everything set up, and now, you know, maybe there's more that you have to do. So your audio is not actually going to sound great until you process it, and you might think that you're going to have to go through and learn a bunch of new programs and learn some new stuff about, you know, that you don't have time to learn, but really that's not the case. I've been using this free program called Auphonic for about 2 years now, and I love it. It really makes processing your audio really easy and intuitive, and we're going to jump in there right now and I'll show you how to do it. So this program is actually completely free as long as you stay under 2 hours of audio recording per month. What you're going to do is you're going to bring your audio file into the database. All of these settings really don't matter, but you can play with them if you want. You want your output format to be WAV and then give it a name. These two don't matter at all, but your last tab is really what matters the most. We're going to check adaptive leveler, loudness normalization, and filtering. And noise reduction is really going to depend on your preferences for your audio and how you recorded it. If you can hear some humming in the background, you know, if it's overpowering and it's distracting, you might want to go back in and add some noise reduction, but don't do this until you've processed it a first time. Usually if I need noise reduction, I'll just set it to auto. Now, loudness target is the one you're really going to need to learn a little bit about. Luckily, it tells you which numbers mean what. So for example, -24 LUFS is the standard for television in the US. These numbers are literally what the title says, loudness target. So -24 LUFS is what you're required to use for broadcast television. Now, LUFS doesn't exactly convert perfectly to decibels, but what I personally use for the majority of my videos is -18 LUFS, which peaks at about -2 and usually sits right about -9 to -3 decibels, which I and many others find to be perfect for web content. You can go up to -16 as well, but I just usually choose -18. Once your audio is processed, you're going to have to sync it to your video. So depending on what software you're using, you're probably going to have to just go do a quick Google search on how to sync your audio, but I use Adobe Premiere Pro CC, and it's really easy. It's basically you just import your two clips, select both of them, right click and choose Merge Clips, and making sure you check Audio and remove audio from AV clip. This will sync your clips together perfectly, especially if you remembered to do that little clap before at the beginning of your clip. If something goes wrong, you might have to sync it manually to your audio, but it isn't a huge deal because it really only takes a minute or two. So that's how you can upgrade the audio in your videos. And remember that audio is extremely important. Honestly, 99% of the time, people are gonna be willing to watch a video that has bad video quality but great audio. But most of the time, people are gonna click away from a video that has amazing video quality but has horrible audio quality. Just like this clip, for example. I rendered this out at like 360p, which is probably 4 times lower resolution than 1080, which is what you're used to watching. But the audio quality sounds fine, and you're probably okay with watching it at this quality because it sounds okay. Whereas with this clip that I shot in 5K and downsampled to 4K and looks amazing and, you know, has great detail, but the audio is clipping and it sounds like I'm talking through a tin can and it's disgusting and it hurts your ears and you probably just want me to stop talking. So just remember that the next time you decide that you want to buy a $5,000 camera, maybe you want to put your money towards audio gear or towards lighting gear or invest your time in storytelling, because that's really what it's about. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, leave a comment below because I'd love to know why, and I want some feedback from you guys, so that's always appreciated. Hit the subscribe button for more content like this, but that's going to do it for this one, so I'll see you guys in the next video.